Kaylee's case is the epitome of the worst case scenario. It was to our surprise that we didn't know this at first, that from the chief, the DA, other law enforcement officials started advising us that there was issues far beyond Kaylee's murder and that this should have never happened, and they were all up in arms more than we were at the time because we had no idea what the backstory was. When we started finding what the backstory was and that how preventable this should have been, and then me just being the common citizen, I own a couple businesses, the things that we're describing here are things to me that I was going, well, that even if I was running an operation, maybe I just don't know what I'm talking about because I don't know the law, but it seems to me that some of this stuff is common sense. Why would this have happened? Why would they not have had certain things? Well, in her particular case, and exactly what we're looking for is, why would you have police cars and uniforms that are almost identical? Their lights literally were red and blue, which they're, according to the statute, as far as I've seen, that's not supposed to be legal. They were doing their own stop and frisk, so they could pull anybody over they wanted to anyways. You have a car that you have a person that's not trained and not authorized to act like a police officer, but yet they have the tools. You have a car that has a cage, plexiglass cage, and automatic child locks on this car to arrest people, and they have no arrest authority. Why would you need a car like that? And so you have this individual that's obviously, this is the story, the individual that had violent tendencies, and he has all the tools in the world to do what he wanted to do when the time was right. And that's one of the key points in the story is this isn't a lightning strike. This isn't a random act. He found the right time, and if it wasn't Kaylee, it was going to be somebody, and it was going to be somebody else if he got away with it. They didn't know where the car was. There's no GPS on the cars. So he could go off into anybody, and any one of their people could have gone off and be at some location for any undisclosed amount of time, and nobody would even know they're there, what they're doing. There's no monitoring and no protocols or procedures for knowing what their own personnel are doing with the tools that they were giving them. And so you have this delineation that's the problem, the biggest problem the chief sees right now, and I see it too, is that you have people acting like police officers or close to it, but they have no idea how, and not trained for it, not authorized to operate like them. And so we're trying to get rid of those gray areas of, these are specifically what you can and can't do, because if you had a GPS in that car, if you had cameras in that car, like any law enforcement agency do, most private industries do, I do. We have cameras in our building, we have GPS on our trucks. It's very inexpensive. And you have somebody monitoring that. You can set alarms off on those things now too. I mean, the technology is very easy. You can have where if you're a certain place, a certain amount of time, if you go outside of a certain zone, somebody's going to get a beep or an alarm where that GPS it would be a flag. And hence that person in the car knows too, they're being monitored. If the cage wasn't in there, child locks weren't in there, when she figured out she wasn't with a safe person, she could have ditched him as soon as they slowed down or got wherever he got and done something. I mean, anything. But there was absolutely nothing she could do. It was the absolute worst case scenario, and what your mind can't do is can you imagine the trauma and the fear? Who wants to imagine their daughter with the fear of knowing all of a sudden she's panicked that she's in big trouble? There's not a thing she can do about it.